Hey, LinkedIn, this is Business Unusual. We're coming to you live for the rest of the week from our home offices to chat about the impact that the coronavirus is having on the ways that we all work. The only way that we can do that is to have a conversation. So if you're in the stream right now, hi, my name is Caroline Fairchild. I'm one of the editors here at LinkedIn. And we're seeing thousands of you on the platform talking about how the coronavirus is impacting the ways that you work. With this show, we don't want to add to that noise, but we do want to help you navigate it. So we want to hear from you. What is going on in your world? What do you want? What would be helpful for you to see on this show? Let us know in the comments, and we'll get hopefully those topics covered in the weeks to come as we are all in this unprecedented situation with the coronavirus. Thousands of you are already sharing insights on LinkedIn. One of the trends that I have been excited to see is how many leaders are just crowdsourcing information about what it means to work from home and best practices. For a lot of us, this is the first time that we've had to do this, work from home for an extended period of time. We have a lot of shares on LinkedIn. I hope that my producer starts to pull some of them up now. We have Alexander for sure here sharing tools and resources about working from home, crowdsourcing these on the platform and sharing them live. And then a lot of you are also hoping that maybe a silver lining of all of this is busting some work from home myths. We're hearing a lot from remote workers who say, now that we have such a big part of the population working from home, maybe we'll see that they'll see the challenges as well as the benefits. We have here, Deborah is talking to us. We have a share that's a different share, but this is what we were supposed to hit on later in the show. We'll get to that. Today we're talking about remote work, coming into this whole working from home situation. I, like you, I am sure, thought this was going to be a temporary thing, but it turns out that this is something that's going to be probably a situation that a lot of us have to face for a long time. Productivity-wise, I thought that I was just going to be able to come into this office that you're seeing right now and work from home productively, but I'm finding that that's just not the case. I spent most of the day yesterday trying to establish a stronger internet connection. What I thought we could do, and later on in the show, we're going to bring in an expert who runs an entirely distributed team to kind of tell us how to do this well. Steph Olson, who's the founder of We Are Rosie, will join us later in the show to give us some tips and also talk about how this whole work from home thing isn't something that can just happen overnight. But for now, let's get into the latest with COVID-19. So what we have to talk about right now is just school closures sweeping the country. Public schools throughout New York State will close for at least 2 weeks starting Wednesday. Dozens of states, including Florida, Illinois, and Nevada, have closed all schools. College campuses are closing. This just had me thinking a lot about what private companies are doing for workers who can't go to work anymore because of childcare, as well as those who have to balance childcare needs with what's going on with work. The share that we had earlier on the stream, we're going to pull that up again. The founder of Chairman Mom, Sarah Lacey, wrote on LinkedIn, which I thought was just such a well-put comment. She said, "This is about to test every single thing that the U.S. struggles with when it comes to gender, and in an immediate way. In a time of panic, emotion, and emergency. It's not going to be pretty, and if working moms get thrown under the bus the way I think we are going to, it's going to be even more devastating for the economy." What Sarah's really saying here is that we have to all grapple with the fact that with these school closures, workers, even if you are able to work from home, are now going to have to balance childcare needs. I think how employers respond to that is going to be really telling. I'm also hearing anecdotally that teams are forming systems to support working parents, like Slack channels to see when they're off hours. I have some colleagues who are going to have to work limited windows. How companies respond is going to be critical. Another topic is just these massive bans that bars and restaurants are facing, and just the huge impact that this is going to have on the retail economy, on restaurants, on bars. Several states and cities have shut down all or some combination of them. This is resulting in a lot of small businesses having to turn themselves into delivery restaurants overnight. That's something that we're hearing from small business owners isn't something that can happen overnight. I was speaking to a friend last night in San Francisco who works in a restaurant, and they were forced to close, and the owners just said, "We'll talk to you in early April," but they had no answers. So the uncertainty both for workers as well as small business owners is at its height right now. Some leaders are stepping up. I wanted to pull up a share from Starbucks CEO Kevin Johnson. He wrote on LinkedIn that he's really going to be enhancing mental health packages for all workers during these challenging times, which I think is really a comment on this isn't just about whether you have work or not. This is also something that's impacting the mental health of a lot of people. I'm seeing some comments in the stream from Kyle and David saying that this is also something that they're thinking about. The other big topic this morning is Amazon is hiring. Amazon announced a plan to hire 100,000 additional warehouse and delivery workers and to boost pay. This is all meant to meet the demand for online retail among the pandemic. The hiring is great. A lot of people are going to have to lose their job, are about to lose their jobs. But I wanted to pull up a share from Spencer Super, an e-commerce reporter at Bloomberg, and he asked a simple question. Would you bring groceries to a stranger's door for $17 an hour during these uncertain times? So I think that really gets at the crux of the issue here. People need work, but they also need to feel safe during this pandemic. This is all overwhelming. The last thing that we wanted to make this show was just us reading through the headlines, but we do want to make sure that you're staying up to date. So I thought it was important for the show today that we bring in some perspective from countries that are, say, further along with what's going on with the coronavirus. And so I thought of my colleagues in China. We saw that entire country be forced inside their homes for over a month. Now they're on the other end. A couple weeks ago, my colleague Nolan took a trip outside of his house during the height of the quarantine in Beijing. Let's take a look at that.
Okay, clear and sunny day. You can see that all the delivery packages and food are packed by the entrance of our apartment. This is the entrance to the shopping mall. It's still quite deserted, I gotta say. Before you enter into the supermarkets here, that you need to get your temperature checked as well. Terrible news, guys. Spam are out of store. Mission accomplished. It's the first day our office in Beijing reopened. I signed up for returning to office. Welcome back. Where is everybody? Most of the meeting rooms are closed because they need to avoid people from gathering too much. What I want to say is that we are leading our life as normal as possible. Things are not so bad. However, the regulations and the quarantine policies are very, very strict. Thanks for watching. Stay safe, stay strong.
All right, Nolan, well, thank you for that. Today, the story out of China is a little bit more hopeful with lots of recovery cases, but many people, including Nolan, remain stuck in their homes. I caught up with Nolan earlier this week, and he has a different perspective on what's going on with the work from home situation, one that gives him hope that there is another side to this. And he says he's in better spirits, which I think is a great reminder for all of us on the stream, perhaps in the US, that there will be another side to this eventually. It's something that I keep reminding myself, which brings us back to what we're talking about today, which is working from home. It's something that a lot of people wished that they could do. We saw in 2019, for example, this was a big theme of people asking for more flexible work arrangements. Well, now a lot of workers have it, but how do you do it productively? Joining us now on the show is the founder of the entirely distributed talent marketplace, We Are Rosie, Stephanie Olson. Stephanie, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Caroline.
Steph was with us in the green room earlier with her 4-year-old who is stuck at home because of school closures. You're in Atlanta. Talk to us about what the school closures really mean for you running your team.
Yeah, I mean, it's been an intense few days. So my kids, I have a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old. They've both been home since Friday of last week. And I've been joking as I check in on my clients, like I'm CEO of a startup and I'm homeschooling 2 kids with the help of my husband and partner. But it's intense. It's created the need for us to be much more organized, for us to be sure that we're working as a team, as partners and parents. But you know, it's unprecedented. And the thing that I keep telling my team and kind of everyone that's in it right now is we've never done this before. It is impossible to do all the things that we were doing previously. And so we just have to give ourselves a lot of compassion and grace and be open to how things kind of unfold over the next couple weeks.
Right. Well, none of us are an expert in working from home amid coronavirus, but talk to us about We Are Rosie. It's an entirely distributed team. You have 4,000 talent marketers working on We Are Rosie.
Yeah.
What is We Are Rosie, and kind of how has it kind of painted your lens of what's going on with coronavirus?
Yeah, so We Are Rosie is 2 years old. At its core, we are a community of 4,000 independent marketers spread across the US. We plug this talent and these independent consultants into big brands, Fortune 500 companies, to tackle project-based work for them, most often remote. So it's been an interesting road for us over the last 2 years as we're doing true consulting work, the likes of Accenture and BCG and McKinsey and these companies that have been very traditionally in office, but we're handling it most often remote. About 80 to 90% of our work is done remote. And then of course, with 4,000 people spread across the US, we have a very distributed first culture in how we do things.
You described, when we chat last week, that you described your Rosie as 4,000 corporate refugees. What is a corporate refugee?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of things. At its core, I kind of define corporate refugees as people who have raised their hand and said that the way work happens in corporate America is not suitable for their lives. This could be that they need to live somewhere that isn't a major market. It could be that they want to do a job share. It could be that they want to take summers off. It could be that they're fed up with racism and sexism and all of these challenges that permeate corporate America, and that they have opted to work in a different way that gives them more agency as a human being.
Right. And a lot of people are getting that flexible arrangement right now because of coronavirus. Is working from home productively something that can happen just overnight?
No. I mean, what the short answer is, for us as a remote first organization, what we're even encountering during these times is that this isn't a standard work from home scenario. This is an emergency work from home scenario, and it's not going to happen overnight. And to go back to kind of our intro, this is a time where we have to all understand that these are incredible times with factors that are so far beyond our control and factors that are limiting and impacting the way that we can do work remotely. And we're going to have to give ourselves a lot of grace as we figure out, frankly, the emergency work from home protocol that needs to take place over the next several weeks to support our talent and our teams and our employees.
And we're seeing a lot of members on LinkedIn sharing their emergency work from home setups that are cropping up all across the country. Let's take a look at some of those shares right now to see what people are doing. This is a very nice home desk setup. This looks like the right chair. I need a better chair right now. I'm thinking about that. So that looks like a great one. What else do we have, Dave, to show from the shares on LinkedIn? Here is another one that looks a little less ideal. I think those are cardboard boxes. And that John, it looks like you're hanging in there by a thread. So hopefully that situation gets to improve. What else do we have, Dave?
I'm happy to share my own.
I think Dave has a picture of my home setup to share at some point, but I'm not sure if he's able to pull it up. We have some videos of some kind of camaraderie exercises that workers are doing too. But I think that the long story short here is that there's just tons of people who are sharing this. And I mean, Stephanie, from your perspective, what does it take really? I mean, I know this is unprecedented times. What would your advice be to some of the workers who are having to do this emergency work from home situation?
Yeah, we actually had a team meeting about this yesterday because even for us, this is incredibly disruptive. So the few things that we've talked about as a team is kind of setting the stage to make sure that everybody knows that they're cared for and that they know that as a business we care for them and that their health and safety and security and that of their loved ones is our first priority. So I think working in an environment where you can establish that, whether you're leading a team or you're part of a team, is going to be important. And then I think also just making sure that you are focused on the things that you can control and being really honest about the things that you may not be able to get done. It can be tough for a lot of type A people to say, I may be at 50% capacity, my normal capacity over the next few weeks. And I think we have to have really honest conversations about that. And I think people have to feel that they have the space to raise their hand and ask for help and know where to go for help.
I think that is such a great point. And we are seeing some leaders on LinkedIn make that point as well. We're back with some of the shares that I pulled for the show today. This looks like the corporate happy hour stuff. We were talking about building camaraderie amongst distributed teams and the challenge of doing that. This video that's pulled up here right now is, I think it's Headspace workers having kind of like a virtual happy hour. Talk to us a little bit about how you try and build camaraderie amongst your distributed team.
Yeah, some of the things that we do that have really helped us build a culture, even though we're fully distributed. You know, I joke, we have a CFO at We Are Rosie that I have not met in person, but I know him really well. So some of the things that help us are video chat as much as possible. That's just kind of a baseline rule for working in a distributed environment. Finding some ways, unique ways to build culture. So within our Slack channel for our core team, we have a good news channel that could be everything from, you know, you found some hand sanitizer to we closed a big deal, and to kind of keep the conversation going there. We're instituting a daily stand-up. We actually haven't had this since we were a tiny startup. We had gotten rid of it as we grew, and now we're saying, okay, in this new environment, let's reinstitute that so we can check in every day. We have a Slack channel where you can share your pets and how they're working with you and just different ways that you can kind of engage with your colleagues and your community. And I think also a critical piece right now is having leaders within your organization check in on the human and less the work. I think as we've done one-on-ones in the past, we've tended to focus more on the work and progress and metrics-based conversations. And I think certainly now's the time. Your first question should be, how are you doing? How are you holding up? How is your family? How can I help? What are your fears? And I think we're going to have to take a truly empathetic approach to leadership during this time.
And you told me that the coronavirus has definitely increased the demand for on-demand talent like We Are Rosie provides. Do you think that the coronavirus will be a boon for flexible work overall? How does this emergency ad hoc-ness of the coronavirus impact that?
Yeah, it's a really good question. You know, there's a lot of people in the kind of remote talent space who are saying, this is it. This is our moment. One thing I think we need to be really careful of is acknowledging that this is not standard work from home. This is not standard distributed work. We've all been thrown into this. It's certainly a baptism by fire for a lot of us, even those that have been working remotely for a long time. So given that, I think what we will see over time, and what I have seen certainly running this community of 4,000 people, is that there is an incredible demand for people, for the paradigm of work to shift and align more wholly with how we live as human beings. And I think this experience, the shared collective experience that is really unavoidable for anybody in corporate America right now, will escalate and accelerate the inevitable adoption of more flexible work policies. So certainly coming out of this, I think we'll all be a little bit jarred. I think it'll take us a minute to find our new equilibrium, but this is, I wholeheartedly agree that this is accelerating the inevitable adoption of more flexible work styles, and it will certainly give this pent-up demand from the talent the data points that they need and the reference points that they need to have conversations with senior leadership, even in the biggest organizations in the world, to further this cause.
Right. And before I let you go, I know that you have a 1 o'clock. I wanted to get your take on this share that I saw on LinkedIn. I came across it where this is Alex. He's talking about how the head of HR at Twitter says that we're just never going to be the same after this. Do you agree that we're just never going to be the same?
100%. And I'm actually really excited by that. I think that this shared collective experience is something that we all need. I think it is a common ground for us in a very divided America in particular. And I think that the fact that we will never be the same will eventually lead us to a more human-centric way of working and caring for those that we encounter in corporate environments.
Right, Steph. I think that's exactly the perspective that we all need right now. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Thank you again to Steph for bringing that. I think a key takeaway from our conversation for me is that we just need to have some grace with each other, people. You saw some mistakes that we're making in the show right now. We are all in an unprecedented time where this is just something that we're all grappling with. It's impacting journalists like me. It's impacting you on the stream. I'm seeing tons of comments on the stream about that. Arania says it would be great to see more work from home jobs. I agree. Wendy says, I just got switched from working from home. It works for me. I work at home for 5 years at my last job. My father knows the drill. I feel well prepared. Sarah says this really seems like an opportunity to humanize the way that we do business with one another and how we communicate online. I hear you. I think what was so interesting about the conversation with Steph is that we're so disconnected right now, but this is a collective experience that we're all having. And it wasn't until I chatted with her that I realized that connection is there. We can find it. It may seem like you're so far away from your coworkers right now, from your families, but that connection and this experience is there. So hold on to that. Be nice to your colleagues. Matthew says, oh, Kiana says, hello, we are Rosie. Seems to be a fan, Steph, if you're still watching. This has been a really great conversation. I want to thank everyone who has joined us. We'll be live again tomorrow at noon. My colleague, Susie Jackson, is going to talk specifically about what working from home means for parents. I'm Caroline Fairchild. Thank you so much for joining us.